Hey guys, so Chris and Sid here. We're going to take you through an ELDOA exercise routine. So we're going to go over 4 different ELDOAs, and each one of these poses you'll hold for a minute. So we won't do the whole minute here on this particular video. We want to take you through these so that you can follow along, and then just as you do them, you can go back to the video and use it as a reference. But just know that we want to hold these positions for 1 minute. So the first ELDOA exercise that we're going to go over today is called L4, L5. And so we're going to get ourselves in this particular posture and hold it for 1 minute, and it actually creates space between the 4th and the 5th lumbar vertebra. We want to focus on diaphragmatic breathing throughout the minute. So as we inhale, that belly kind of comes out, and exhale. One of the things that you can do is if you just focus on taking a nice long inhalation and exhalation, and you count 10 breaths, you're going to be pretty close to a minute. So if you're inhaling for 3 seconds and exhaling for 3 seconds, a good 6-second breath for 10 reps would be 60 seconds. So for this L4, L5, we're going to have your knees slightly bent, and we want our heels to be in line with about where our leg bone, your femur here, goes into your hips. And you can just kind of relax the legs outward like this. We want to bring the feet into flexion. So think about bringing your toes towards your shins, and we want to kind of evert them a little bit. So we're really focusing on maybe taking that pinky toe towards the shin. We want to imagine we have a string attached to the crown of our head, and it's pulling us up to the ceiling. So we want as straight a spine as that we can get. We want to take all the natural curves out of it. Next, we're going to reach up to the ceiling with our hands. We want the wrist extended like this, so your fingers are going to be pointed outwards. So we call this external rotation. So we're going to reach these palms up towards the ceiling. So we have the crown of the head reaching to the ceiling, the palms reaching toward the ceiling. We're going to very slightly tuck the chin, and that's just to straighten that cervical spine. So we want to take the curve out of that cervical spine. So we got a nice long spine here. We're reaching the palms to the ceiling. The crown of the head is reaching to the ceiling. We're pushing these knees to the floor. We're pulling our toes back towards the shin. We're focusing on diaphragmatic breathing. Our eyes are open, and we're looking 45 degrees in front of us. So you're going to be looking in this area right here beyond the feet. And so we'll just count a nice 10 breaths where we're just having a good deep inhalation and exhalation, and 10 breaths will be about a minute. Now when you come out of this pose, we want to come out slowly. We have the fascia under a lot of tension here, so we don't want to just boom, relax out of it real big. We want to come out of it nice and easy, so sit, you come out nice and easy. And that's L4, L5, ELDOA. The next ELDOA we're going to go through is called T6, T7. And so we're going to cross our legs like so. We're going to sit up nice and tall. And as with all the ELDOAs, we're trying to take out the natural curves of the spine. So that analogy of that string attached to the crown of the head is the same for all ELDOAs. It's pulling us straight up. We have a nice long spine. For this one, we're going to place the hands together, and we're going to reach our fingertips to the ceiling. So we have the crown of the head reaching to the ceiling, we have our fingertips reaching to the ceiling, and we're pushing our knees into the floor. We have a nice long straight spine, chin slightly tucked, eyes are open looking 45 degrees in front. So again, we're looking at an area right here in front of us, and we're going to hold this for 10 breaths, about a 3-second inhalation, 3-second exhalation. So we have this pose for a minute. Again, after a minute, you'll come out of it nice and slow. And so for the next ELDOA, we're going to be laying on our back. This one is C4, C5. And so with C4, C5, even though we're laying on our back, we still imagine we have a string attached to the crown of the head. It's just pulling us a long way. And we have another string attached to the tailbone pulling us the other way. So again, we're visualizing a lengthened spine. So as Cindy brings her legs back here, there's really not any involvement in the lower half. We just want to bring those legs back enough to where it naturally flattens the low back out, so that pelvis may roll back a little bit, which is good. That's what we want. We don't want to roll back so much that we've got the spine in flexion. We just want to take out the curve there. So then you can just kind of relax the lower half, whatever's comfortable. So we're going to reach up to the ceiling with the arms. We're going to externally rotate the arms so that your fingers are pointed outwards. We have extension in the wrist, and then we're going to go into a protraction. So we're going to actually reach those arms up toward the ceiling. We're going to have a slight tuck in the chin, and then if you can, barely lift the head off the ground, just high enough to slide a piece of paper underneath. If that's too much for your neck, it's okay. You can not lift the head. We just want to keep that chin tucked so we take out the curve in the cervical spine. And we're reaching with the crown of the head and reaching with the tailbone in the opposite direction, all while reaching to the ceiling with the palms. And this is C4, C5. You'll hold this position for a minute, and then after a minute, you'll slowly come out. And the last ELDOA we have is called L5S1. For this one, you'll sit really close to the wall, and it works best if you kind of lay on your side and get your butt kind of touching the wall. That way when you spin around, your butt will still be touching the wall. And so for this one, if you can't fully extend your legs, if your hamstrings are too tight to fully extend your legs, in that case, it's okay to be a little bit further away from the wall to give yourself room to where you can get full extension in those knees. So here we want the butt slightly touching the wall. We want to get full extension in the knees, so that basically the knees are locked out. We actually want to internally rotate both legs just a little bit so the big toes are kind of pointing toward each other. Then we're going to take those toes and we're going to bring them into the inside of the shins. So we have some flexion in the knees, in the feet, but we also have a little inversion here. So we're kind of turning that foot inward, so that big toe is coming in towards the shin. So we got knees locked out. We have internal rotation of the femur here. We have the toes nice and flexed towards the shins. We're going to reach overhead with the arms, and again, an external rotation with the wrist extended, so the fingers will be pointed outwards. And so we're going to reach those palms and the crown of the head away from the wall, while the tailbone's reaching into the wall. We have a slight tuck in the chin. The eyes are going to be open and looking in the direction of the knees. We're going to focus on diaphragmatic breathing throughout the minute. So we have full extension, internal rotation of the legs, dorsiflexion, so flexion of the feet, bringing the toes in towards the inside of the shins, chin tucked, eyes open, looking in the direction of the knees, arms and external rotation, wrist and extension, palms and crown of the head reaching. We'll hold this pose for a minute, and when we come out, we're going to come out of it nice and slow. I like to bend the knees, and then you're going to roll the torso and the hips together to either side, doesn't matter. We just don't want to twist out of it. We want to just kind of long roll out of that. And so we want you to try this ELDOA routine for yourself. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to Sydney or I so that we can make any modifications you may need, or we can even add some different ELDOAs if you have some areas of concern.